We the North, how this Toronto sports team set out to redefine what it means to be a Canadian basketball fan. And guess what? They're having their best start in franchise history. But will it last? I'm Affan Chowdhry. Welcome to Globe Now. The Toronto Raptors are celebrating 20 years in the NBA. During those 2 decades, they've come a long way. For one, they're off to their best start ever. And we'll talk about that in a moment with the Globe's Cathal Kelly. But it's also the team's image. Less of the Jurassic Park vibe, instead something that the team says is distinctly Canadian. So why has this campaign resonated so much with fans? We went to the advertising firm who created it to find out.
We, the North. In many ways, we're in a league of our own.
We, the North, is unapologetic Canadian confidence.
Some would say we're on the outside looking in.
We're just as badass as everyone else, so there's no need to always trying to define ourselves as hey, there's a Canadian way to play basketball. There's a way to play basketball to win.
We are the North Side.
Sometimes people think rebrand means a new logo or a new look and feel, but there's rebranding can also just redefine the position or where the brand is going. Toronto does feel like being an outsider in the context of the league. It was about taking that sort of negative perception and turning it into our positive strength. We do this treatment where you're cutting from city streets to in-game, and that's the range for us was important to cover. You want to show Toronto basketball is not just the Raptors. You know, there's a lot of talented players up and coming from Toronto. The Raptor Claw is part of their current identity. We just chose to focus on the claw. It has the right attitude as opposed to showing the full-on dinosaur. A lot of people ask about Drake's involvement. He brings a layer of authenticity to, I guess if you want to call it the cool factor of the work. Knowing that he feels like it's right, that means a lot of people are going to feel like it's right.
If that makes us outsiders, we're in.
Next year, you can expect to see something new and exciting. Stay tuned. There's going to be cool stuff.
Now, the Raptors are enjoying more than just marketing success. They're also on a bit of a winning streak this season. Right now, their record stands at 7 wins, 2 losses. It's a nice change for long-suffering sports fans in Toronto who are used to the losing Maple Leafs and the suffering Blue Jays. But is the hype for this year's success already overblown? Well, the Globe's Cathal Kelly is here with a reality check. Welcome, Cathal.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So let's look at some facts here. Here's one. In 6 of the last 10 years, teams that have started with 7 wins and lost 1 have gone on to win the NBA championship.
I think I can say with a certain amount of confidence, they will not win the NBA championship. There's absolutely no chance of that. They will make the playoffs, but I think what's been shown, 7-2. They've won some games they probably shouldn't have won, mostly because they didn't play particularly well, and then they came on late. But they've played 2 quality teams and in Miami and Chicago last night, and they've lost both those games. So a lot of work to be done. We could get super tech. We could get all sportsy here. They need some bigs. They really are thin up front. They don't have good big men. But they're a pretty good team. They're a playoff team. They're just not the sort of team yet that's up there with the Clevelands or the San Antonio's teams in the West.
So the missing ingredient is?
I think it's bigs, a center. Like Jonas Valanciunas, who's a lovely player and a lovely guy, is just not getting it done this season. They need a real center, and that's going to become a real problem in the next couple of weeks. They're going to have to think about adding someone.
There's this phrase in the financial world, irrational exuberance.
Yes.
Does that apply to Raptors fans?
Yeah, I think it probably does at this point. We don't know what they can be. They have a lot of heart.
Right.
But they really do lack down the spine of that team. They lack stars. And up front especially, they've got great guards in Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan, but you look at them and you think, this is not a team. This is a team that could go to the playoffs, could probably win a round. Could they win a second round? Could they go against a truly great team like a Chicago, who's a really great team, and win a playoff series? Probably not.
Now, I mean, there's a lot of attention, paid to the Raptors when they recently played Chicago, and the game was nationally televised in the U.S. A lot of spotlight on the Raptors.
Yes.
How important is that?
I think that's huge, actually. You know, we tend, because we see them all the time, we don't realize that in the United States, which is where you're trying to get your players, they're invisible. Like that's a team that doesn't really exist. They were on TNT last night. That was the first time in 12 years that they've had a nationally televised regular season game on TNT. So when you're trying to sell yourself, and this is a team, you know, they're going to clear a lot of cap space in a couple of years. They're going to want to get big-time free agents. And in order to do that, you have to have some profile. So actually, it really does matter. You
followed the Raptors for many years, you know. Describe what it's like going to a game now compared to 5 or 10 years ago.
It really, I think everybody's had this experience. It's insane. You expect them to win. So they'll go down 15 points. Even last night against Chicago, when they started pulling, you know, Chicago started to pull away in the second half, and you're thinking, well, they'll just come back. You're starting to believe they can do that. That's a special feeling as a fan, you know, that for a long time you went there and you just expected if they got down 7, 8 points, it was over. Like, it didn't matter when that happened. So they really have found some heart. I think that's a lot to do with the mix of the team. I'm not a huge believer in chemistry, but with this team, it really does show. They believe in each other. That's got to be a very different feeling. And that building, let's face it, you know, I'll go to cover the Raptors one day, and then a couple of days later I'll go to cover the Leafs. And there's really no difference. I mean, it's the best ticket in town right now.
And in the end, I'm almost afraid to talk about Toronto sports teams. You know, you almost feel like you're jinxing them.
Absolutely, and that's actually, I was talking to someone in management there, and you know, I said, "Oh, you're doing great," and they said, "Don't jinx it."
Right.
I think there's no question they make the playoffs. Barring huge injuries, barring disaster, they do make the playoffs. What we're still trying to figure out is if they can win a round, because that's what they did last year. They made the playoffs and then they lost. I think they can, but they have to. There's some development still needs to be done.
Okay, Cathal, thank you so much. Well, that's all for today's show. If you've got a moment, hop onto Twitter. What are your thoughts on the Raptors season so far? Tweet us at Globe Now. I'm Affan Chowdhry. Thanks for watching.